In case you somehow still haven't noticed, summer is over, and just like that, after so many summers before, I'm once again left wondering why have so disproportionately many people around me ended their relationship in the last 5 months. And every year, again and again, I think a little further and come to the same conclusion. It's warm, we feel freer, everyone wants to party, so it's kind of logical that a lot of people break up. Their relationship might be standing in the way of the perfect hot girl and of course hot boy summer. So the decision is made, sometimes a bit too quickly, to end things, and I can't exactly say that I'm innocent of such a breakup myself. Anyway, back then my ex accused me of causing her something called the broken heart syndrome, which apparently isn't just emotionally harmful, but also physically dangerous. I caused what? That does what to someone? And what even is the broken heart syndrome? Naturally, I googled it right away as the kind of person who cares about other people, because I want to know if I've unintentionally put someone in mortal danger. A quick search answered the question, but let's just say I wasn't exactly calmed by the results. So, the broken heart syndrome, also called stress cardiomyopathy, is a sudden dysfunction of the left ventricle, which is roughly located here. It is mainly triggered by stress or physical pain. During an episode, the body releases stress hormones, the so-called catecholamines, which regulate heart function and blood pressure when the body or the mind is under stress. Among these catecholamines are well-known all-stars like dopamine, noradrenaline and adrenaline, all of which crank up our cardiovascular system and release energy reserves. That's obviously very useful when you're trying to run away from a saber-toothed tiger or whatever. But our brains haven't changed all that much since then. We still experience stress today, only now it often just feels negative. And one of the many negative consequences of extreme stress can be the broken heart syndrome. In that state, the heart becomes overwhelmed by the stress hormones and the heart muscle basically becomes paralyzed. Honestly, you can't even blame it, because the level of stress hormones during such an episode can be up to 30 times higher than normal and 2 to 4 times higher than after a heart attack. If I was the heart, I would crash out too. Once this happens, the heart barely pumps anymore and the left ventricle balloons out, which is why the broken heart syndrome is also called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. A long word, I know, but a Takotsubo is just a Japanese octopus trap that looks suspiciously similar to the left ventricle in this condition. Yeah, but what exactly would have happened to my ex if she really had the broken heart syndrome? Not that I didn't believe her, but... The broken heart syndrome is a heart muscle disease and has practically the same symptoms as a heart attack, which is why it's treated like one at first. 1 second. So the symptoms are the following: shortness of breath, chest tightness, sweating, nausea, vomiting, fluid buildup in the lungs, life-threatening arrhythmias, and fatal shocks. Excuse me? So a breakup can actually kill you? Yeah. Triggers for the broken heart syndrome are usually strong emotional stressors like intense arguments, the death of a loved one, or, well, a breakup. Shockingly, even positive emotions like a wedding or winning the lottery can create such extreme stress hormone spikes that the symptoms are identical. And because they're so close to a heart attack, doctors often need several tests, ECGs, blood tests, and something called an angiography to figure out what is what. Just to explain briefly, in an angiography, they basically send dye-marked blood through the body, which makes it easier to see on x-rays, allowing doctors to observe blood flow and detect changes in organs or arteries. And how fitting that what you see right now is the angiography of a broken heart syndrome. The difficulty and complexity of diagnosing this condition is partially because the broken heart syndrome is still a relatively new discovery in medicine. Well, new also meaning about 35 years now, but the first description of it was published only in 1991 by this lovely guy here in Japan. Before that, heart diseases were rarely, if ever, linked to psychological or social stress factors. Today we know that those factors can contribute to up to 1/3 of the risk. I think it's safe to say most of us have experienced some form of heartbreak before. But if this is all so dangerously dramatic, why are we all still alive? To answer that, let's look at the demographics. Oh, so 90% of affected people are women over 50, meaning post-menopause. One explanation could be that after the menopause, estrogen levels drop, and with that, the body loses part of its protective effect, making women in that age group more vulnerable to stress. But the exact mechanisms are still being researched. Okay, that might explain why young people like us are not confronted with it too much. But why are so few men affected? I really don't want to throw stereotypes around here, but men usually don't get the broken heart syndrome from emotional stress, but rather from a physical one. That can include surgeries or neurological conditions, which happen far less often than emotionally intense experiences like losing a job or ending a relationship. Interestingly, the same study found that men with a broken heart syndrome are more than twice as likely to die from it as women are. Again, a lot of these explanations are still just speculation, but the idea is that these physical stresses, which are often the trigger in men, simply put a heavier strain on the body. A surgery or a stroke is, physically speaking, just a whole different level than a breakup or getting fired. Men also tend to recover more slowly, likely because they often don't receive the same emotional or social support that women do. It shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately it often is. But to reassure all women over 50, like my mom, only a tiny fraction of cases becomes genuinely life-threatening. In most cases, the condition heals completely within a few weeks. Around 95% of patients regain full heart function in that time, and even under extremely stressful emotional conditions like losing a loved one, the broken heart syndrome is relatively rare. Still, I want to point out that it can be a life-threatening condition, even if only 5% of the cases reach that level, and it can have a stronger effect on people with trauma or experiences of abuse. There's also still a lot we don't know. Why exactly the heart becomes so paralyzed by the stress hormones, whether the condition starts in the brain or the heart, if genetics play a role, and what treatments actually work best. Right now, it's mostly treated with general heart medications like beta blockers, which aren't perfectly suited for the specific syndrome in every case. So now there's really only one question left. Should I not have broken up with my ex back then because of this? I think I actually did everything right. Being unhappy in a relationship should be reason enough to allow yourself to break up, and the fear of the broken heart syndrome, especially considering how unlikely it is for people our age, shouldn't make anyone feel guilty. I'm obviously not saying that she was a little over the top with it back then, but I know for a fact she's doing fine today. Sometimes after a breakup you don't really need a hospital, maybe just some time with friends or a lot of Ben & Jerry's. And no, your heart doesn't keep a physical scar after the broken heart syndrome, even if some people claim so. Most of the time, our bodies just aren't as melodramatic as we are. Bye bye!